So in one of my recent videos, somebody in my audience asked me if I feel like lesbianism is the final solution for women. And I decided to turn this into a video and talk about it. My response to her was not at all. So let me just get that right out the gate. Not at all. I do not think that lesbianism is the final solution. But I will talk about what I anticipate as being the trajectory for women, men, and relationship dynamics between women and men over the coming years, decades, maybe even centuries, depending on how this video flows. And so, and I understand why she asked this question because so many women are focusing on themselves. A lot of women are waking up. They are approaching singlehood with a lot more respect and reverence versus in previous years and decades where singlehood was seen as a deficit for a woman. If she's single, then she's missing out on something. And now women are realizing that singlehood is the key towards sovereignty and independence and a really peaceful life, especially if you're a woman who has gone through a lot of hardship with men. And so I understand why, someone would ask that question. But when I think about where we are heading, based on where we are right now in terms of the spiritual awakening of women recognizing and remembering the divine feminine consciousness, women coming back into their own power, coming back into their own sovereignty. What I'm intuiting, what I am predicting is that there is going to continue to be growth in terms of more single women, more child-free women, more women abstaining from relationships with men. But I don't think that the final conclusion is lesbianism. Number one, if you're a woman and you're not attracted to women, then that's just not an option for you regardless. But what I do see and what I anticipate is that because women are the leaders of consciousness and the leaders of spirituality, and the structure of the world is essentially based off of what women are co-creating, what women are allowing to happen, what we are accepting from men as it relates to patriarchy, and all of the subsequent treatment that women experience under patriarchy, that's going to continue to deconstruct itself. That's going to continue to collapse. And what will start to happen is over time, the men who are also feeling the shift, the men who are also being called to rise into higher consciousness, the men who are also being called into remembrance of the divine feminine consciousness and having deeper respect and reverence for the divine feminine and the embodiments of the feminine, which is the woman. More men are going to start waking up and realizing that it's time to get with a program or get left behind. And so I do feel, and I know sometimes, a lot of the content out here right now around relationships, like heterosexual relationships, can feel very dystopian, or it can feel very, I'm trying to think of an antonym for optimistic. Pessimistic. Pessimistic. I don't feel pessimistic at all about relationships between men and women. I actually feel very optimistic about relationships between men and women because, as I've been saying, as women continue to wake up and rise higher in their expression, there are going to be a number of men that are going to rise into their higher expression. And those are going to be, the divine unions that are going to start. This is already happening, of course, but it's going to start happening on a much wider scale. Now, yes, there are going to be women that are going to continue to remain single because that's the medicine that they need for this lifetime. A lot of women are healing from many, many lifetimes of codependency and self-sacrifice and people-pleasing and over-giving. A lot of women are healing these distortions in their lineages. And so for a lot of women, remaining sovereign, remaining single, remaining on their own is going to be a big piece of them healing themselves and healing their bloodlines, especially women who have children, because a lot of women who have children are, especially if they have daughters, are going to remain single and serve as an example of sovereignty for their daughters. And so maybe the women, the mothers, are not going to enter into relationships, but their daughters might enter into relationships. And those daughters are going to enter into relationships with higher self-worth, higher self-love, strong boundaries, strong parameters around what they allow into their lives based off of the example that their mothers give them, or the women around them, the women in the collective are providing. So when I think about the transition, you know, the women in my age group, so I'm an older millennial, I'm 38 years old, I'll be turning 39 in March, and I'm currently in my era of sovereignty and solitude. I've been single for over 6 years now. I don't know if that's what will happen, if I will remain single for the rest of my life. I am very open to having a relationship with a man, but I'm not going to settle for a man. I'm only open to having a relationship with a man who is, and I don't even necessarily need him to be on what someone might say the exact same frequency. I don't need to have a man who is into spirituality or any of those things, as long as he is embodied in himself and he is in reverence and devotion to the feminine and how that is expressed. I'm also open to a relationship with a woman. I'm attracted to both sexes. And so I am just open to whatever the future holds for me. I don't have a preference either way. And I don't have, I don't feel like I'm lacking or missing anything in my life. And I haven't felt that for these last 6 years. And so, going back to what I was saying a moment ago about the younger generation, I'm a millennial, but we have Gen Z, we have Gen Alpha, and whatever the next, generation will be called after that. Those children, those little girls, those little boys are going to be raised with a different consciousness than what my generation was raised with, or even Gen X or the boomers were raised with. We've already seen a huge difference in the consciousness between the older generations of the boomers and the Xers to the millennials going into the Gen Zers. And so the Gen Alphas are going to be coming up in an era where there is going to be a lot, there's going to be higher standards for, not just for men, but higher standards for women as well. The women are going to be calling women into higher standards. And that's part of the work that I do, is helping women rise and recognize what it is that we are co-creating as women, what we are allowing as women, how we are failing our daughters and our nieces and our goddaughters and all of the other young women that are in our lives. And so these children right now are going to, a lot of them are going to, once they reach adulthood, they're going to be approaching relationships with a much more aligned and spiritually sovereign lens than a lot of the women in my age group and older have been conditioned to do, because that conditioning is falling away. It's being deconstructed, and the systems that we were raised under are in the process of collapse. And so this is why I feel so optimistic about the future. This is why I don't have this sense of nihilism and all of these really negative feelings that a lot of people have about the state of the world. I know that sometimes for some of the men who see my content, they might think that I'm being negative in the way that I'm talking about these things, but I don't find what I'm saying negative. I'm just speaking very clearly and directly about what is happening, what exists right now in the collective. And I give so much guidance and so much advice, and I teach so much on how to shift out of that. And the men who are paying attention, the men who actually want to do the work and who want to evolve themselves, who want to experience growth and evolution, they are listening and they are taking action to raise their consciousness and start showing up in a much more embodied way than some of the other men that are in their peer groups. And so I'm very, very optimistic about it. And what I see is a lot more divine unions in the future. We're moving into, we're creating a new earth, we're creating a new world, a new matrix. And all of the, fuckery that's going on in the world right now is just symptomatic of the collapse of the old system. And so while a lot of people are feeling like the world is on fire, in a sense, they are correct that the world is on fire, but it's not a doomsday scenario in my opinion. It's, to me, we're very lucky to be alive during the time that we're alive in right now. The way that I see it is we are the generation who is planting the seeds that future generations will get to harvest. And so while there might be a lot of women in my age group or older, or even in the Gen Z age group, who might never, have relationships or divine union, I don't think that it's symptomatic of lack or scarcity. I think that it's a very, very necessary part of the collective evolution for women to recognize that to have a beautiful life, to have success, to have community, to have joy and self-love, all of those things can exist outside of romantic relationships. I think we are deprioritizing romantic relationships. At least women are deprioritizing romantic relationships in a lot of ways. And I think that's a very, very important step for our evolution, is for us to have this period of deconstruction and deprioritization of romantic relationships under the patriarchal framework. And these romantic relationships are going to be reconstructed from a new lens that is grounded in sovereignty for the woman, sovereignty for the man, and these two sovereign beings coming together and creating something beautiful. Whereas right now, the current template is that I am only one half of a person, I am only one half of a person, and we come together to create a whole, which is, to me, not aligned at all. It's not aligned for people to see themselves as incomplete without a romantic partner. And so all of that is being broken down, all of that is being stripped away, and we are creating a new world where we are going to be coming together from a place of wholeness. So each person is whole, and then you create something even more beautiful from that space of wholeness. And so, yeah, this question of lesbianism, there are a lot of women that are waking up to, that have had latent feelings or attraction towards women. And this is giving them an opportunity to explore those types of relationships and to see if that's something that, feels correct for them. But I don't think that it's about all women are just going to become lesbians because that's the only way we're going to find romantic partnership. Because again, that is just the other side of the coin of prioritizing romantic relationships as being the only type of relationship that matters. What I do see is that there's going to be a lot more female-centric communities. There's going to be matriarchal communities rising. There are going to be more communities where perhaps men are not allowed or accepted into those communities because those communities are existing for women to heal outside of the male gaze, outside of male influence, outside of male structures and male opinions. We're going to be seeing a lot more of that. We already have so many examples of women coming together and buying homes together, and single mothers, finding each other to help co-parent and raise children, women or sisters buying homes and raising their children with their siblings and, their nibblings and creating structures that way. The nuclear family, in my opinion, is going to continue to dissolve because the nuclear family is a patriarchal construct that is not a natural construct. And I can do another video about that another time. If you're interested in hearing more about that, let me know and I'll make a video. And so how we see the family unit is going to change. That's going to shift. But if you are not naturally attracted to women, then you're not going to engage in relationships with women. That's just not sustainable, and it's also not fair to the other person in that dynamic. One thing that I heard very recently it wasn't recently, it was like sometime last year or the year before. There's a woman who makes content around, I guess, like self-mastery. And she also talks a lot about gender dynamics and uses a lot of research in her work. Her name is Princella the Queenmaker. And I don't follow her content, but I've seen a lot of her work through TikTok and on social media. And there was something that she said that I thought was really interesting and it really resonated with me, is that a lot of the qualities that women seek out in men are actually the qualities that women inherently possess. And I think the fact that women are realizing that a lot of the things that they're looking for in men are just their projections. And this is something that I talk about in my work and I teach women as well, is women often will take our best qualities and we project those onto men, and we create sort of this fairy tale for men that men unfortunately can't live up to, which is why a lot of women are very disappointed in their relationships with men. It's because they're expecting something out of men that men cannot provide to them. It's not natural to them, it's not inherent to them, and it isn't fair to have that expectation of men. And so from that sense, that's why I think that we're going to be seeing a lot more female-centric relationships, more platonic relationships where women will commit to each other or commit to creating lives together, creating families together, but it not necessarily having a romantic or sexual undertone to it. So, like I said, this is a very interesting, beautiful time to be alive, because we are the ones that are planting the seeds for the future. We are the ones that are being tasked with the creation of this new earth or this new consciousness. And so I'm really excited to see what comes up in the future. You know, I have dreams of building community. I want to buy land and I want to invite women to live on land and to share resources and share skills and to, you know, grow together, grow a new civilization that is mother-centric, woman-centric, child-centric, which is what's natural to humanity. You know, something that I love to do is I love to attend women's gatherings, and there are very few in this country, but one of my favorite women's gatherings is called Spirit Weavers, and I've been going for the last 4 years. This will be my 5th year attending Spirit Weavers, and it'll be my 4th year teaching at Spirit Weavers. And I always teach my Selfish Bitch workshop there. And going to women's gatherings is so special because it's, especially if it's your first time as a woman going to an all women's gathering, it's so special because for a lot of women, it's the very first time that they get to experience a female-only space. They get to experience what it's like to be in a community that is run and sustained by the love and labor of women. And in these women's gatherings, mothers are typically treated with much more care and more reverence. Like when when it's mealtime, mamas with young babies get to go straight to the front of the line. Just things like this to make the mothers, especially mothers of small children, feel more special and feel more cared for. These are, this is a very, very beautiful and important environment for women to have an experience with a dynamic that they have maybe never been exposed to. So if you're hearing this video and you're thinking about all of the things that I'm saying as my vision and predictions for the future, and you want to know what that can look like in practice, then I highly recommend checking out an event like Spirit Weavers. The website for that is spiritweaversgathering.com. And I believe tickets are going to be going on sale this month. And so, but go check out the website, and if that's something that you're interested in, and that's a really, really beautiful opportunity for you to have an experience with a female-centric gathering or female-centric community. It's just a weekend where women come together and share skills, meaning you can learn women basically come and they teach what they know. So some women teach you how to make fire. Some women teach you how to make brooms. Some women will teach classes like my class, Selfish Bitch. Other women will teach classes around drum making or vocal expression and vocal activation, just all types of amazing skills that women have, especially ancient skills that don't have as much, a lot of women aren't as aware of or connected to. There are so many women that are carrying ancient knowledge within them, and they bring them into these women's gatherings and in these Skillshare gatherings to share this knowledge with other women so that we can recall and remember the things that we used to know when we existed as matriarchy. So to go back to the original question, is lesbianism the future for women? Not necessarily. If that's something that is natural to you, if that's something that you are being guided into or being called into because you're having a genuine physiological attraction to women, then yes. But for those women who are not fully attracted to women or not attracted to women at all, of course, that is not the answer. But we are starting to see how a lot of the qualities that we are desiring for men to embody isn't necessarily natural to men. It is women who carry those qualities. And so we are in this very sticky growth transformation phase where we are letting go of the old ideas and the old consciousness that was given to us and really forced upon us by patriarchy. And we are coming into a new consciousness where we are remembering the old ways. We are remembering that we are the creators of reality. We are the co-creators of reality. And we know we don't have to continue to live in the way that we used to live. So yeah, I'll end it there. I'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below. How did this land for you? Especially the question of, is lesbianism the future? It's so funny to me because I understand why that question is asked by women. And I do think we are going to be seeing a lot more lesbians in the future because there are a lot of women that are realizing that they're not actually attracted to men because there's so much conditioning around heteronormativity and so many women being pushed into heterosexual relationships, especially through religious indoctrination and other types of cults. But so for the women who are deconstructing those beliefs and the brainwashing in a lot of ways, I think a lot more women are going to realize, actually, I am very attracted to women, or I'm only attracted to women. And we will be seeing a rise in lesbianism, but I don't think that all women will be lesbians, or at least not for the very foreseeable future. As the Y chromosome continues to degrade and men are going to be born less and less and less, that is something that will be happening in the future. And this is not my opinion. You can literally Google this. The Y chromosome is degrading. Eventually, we will return to an era that is all women, which is how we started in humanity. Humanity used to be all female until the male was created through genetic mutation, and that genetic mutation is beginning to disappear. But that's a video for another day. But in several thousand years, maybe hundreds of thousands of years, humans will be all female again, and maybe at that point, lesbianism will be the future, but for the foreseeable future, for the next several generations, I don't think that's the case. So anyway, let me know how this video landed with you down in the comments, if it brought up any questions, or if you have different insight, or if you want to expand upon some of the things that I expressed in this video. I'd like to hear your thoughts respectfully. And yeah, thank you so much for being here. And oh, one last thing. So we are just a couple of days away from my Selfish Bitch initiation, which begins on the 7th, on Wednesday the 7th. And so if you haven't signed up for that and you've been watching my videos and listening to all the things that I've been saying and you've been feeling called into the space, this is your last opportunity to join before the price goes up one last time before we begin on Wednesday. And so look at some of my older videos or not older because I've been doing it every day for the last month, but look at some of my previous videos for the last month, and where I dive deeper into some of the concepts that I'll be talking about in the Selfish Bitch initiation. The link is in the description box. I will drop the link in the comments as well. And I hope to see you there on Wednesday. And if not, I'll just see you in the next video.